You know, I bet as soon as Creative 2.0 comes out, all this stuff is going to be rendered useless, but until then, hopefully it helps you out just a little bit. Hey everyone, this is Syntax, and today I'm going to be going over and building with you guys 3 custom plant designs to help increase the aesthetic value in your maps and overall make them more authentic. So yeah, let's just get into it. Now this first category or section, whatever you want to call it, actually I'll have them custom pre-built because they're really easy to build. I figured I'd just show you a couple examples, but for the second and third examples I'm going to actually be building them so you guys can see what the process is like. Anyway, the first thing we're going to be going over today is potted plants. Most of the pots and vases I'm going to be using in today's video come from the Outdoor Residential Prop Gallery. You can go in and find a bunch of vases. There's at least 3 of them, but it really doesn't matter what you put your plants in so long as it looks like it's a pot or a vase. I have the tree from the Lucky Landing Prop Gallery sitting in a pot. I also have this plant from the Outdoor Residential Prop Gallery, and I widened it out a little bit, and I put this from the Outdoor Residential as well. An important thing to know is when you're doing custom design for your plants and you're actually putting them in pots or things that are holding them, make sure there's nothing phasing outside of the pot or the vase, and I'll show you what I mean later, but just make sure that your plant is tightly enclosed in that vase. If you wanted to even put some shrubbery at the bottom of this to kind of hide the stems of this tree, that'd be fine too. Just get imaginative with it. Again, here we have pretty much the same thing, except this time it's hanging off of a rope, so you can, you know, obviously create hanging plants with ropes. They look nice. Just to show you it doesn't have to be exclusively vases or pots, I used this little water holder right here and took this plant from the Outdoor Residential Prop Gallery and made sure everything was hidden, and it looks really nice. Here's some other examples with bigger plants and bigger vases. You can see I have that base plant and then the same tree from Lucky Landing coming out of it, and it looks pretty good. Here I used a technique called bush stretching, which is called bush stretching because you're stretching a bush. If you just take a bush and shrink it down and just grow the height, you actually get this effect right here. What's nice is it doesn't have to be in a pot or a vase. They make pretty good looking trees if you just stack them on top of each other. So yeah, you don't have to put them in a vase. Again, you guys don't have to copy exactly what I'm doing. This is just to give you some inspiration to start potting plants and making your own custom designs. As you can see right here, I have the plant from the Agency Prop Gallery, and I did the bush stretching technique on it, and I got this interesting little effect, which just adds a little bit more to the plant. Again, you don't have to do this. This is just my idea. You can add whatever plants you want to this base plant, just make it unique. Now this final example I have on the end here is an example of what not to do. As you can see, the vase from this plant is clearly phasing through the other vase, and it just looks ugly and disgusting, and don't do this. Odds are if the plant's base is thicker than the actual base, you're going to have to do some really weird stretching and textures are going to look off, and just don't do it. Try and avoid it at all costs. Alright, now that the custom potted plants are out of the way, we are going to get into the second design, which is what I like to call controlled bush spamming. Now the reason I say controlled is that we're spamming bushes, but we're doing it with a purpose. We're going for some type of abstract shape that ultimately looks good in the end. The bush that I'm going to be using can be found in the Princess Castle Foliage Gallery, but you can use whatever bush you think is going to look good, and I'm going to be using this one right here. Now taking this out, this is actually a really good height, so I'm just going to keep it at this height and start to build. You can have grid snap turned off, you can have grid snap turned on, do whatever you want to make it look better, and I guess it depends on where you're putting it in your map, but it really doesn't matter. Now for me, I'm actually going to start with 2 of these bushes at identical heights, about equidistant apart. So I think that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, that looks perfect to me. Now, there are 2 things you can do from here. You can either A, go resize your bush and just shrink the height like so, or you can just keep this. If you're worried about stretching the textures too much of the flowers, you can keep it at the same height and then just lower it into the ground, which is what I'm going to be doing. So I'm actually just going to start to place a bunch of random bushes here, and I guess we'll see what we have as an end result. As you can see, I'm just kind of stacking them at different heights and going for a shape. I'm not really sure what I'm going for, but it will look interesting when I'm done. Have this one stick out a little more, this one stick in a little more. Yeah, that's pretty good. Bring one around to the back here, and I think we have our shape. Would you look at that? And if I wanted to, I could actually stretch this up a little bit more so it wasn't exactly symmetrical, and that's like the whole thing. You could also go in the middle and make it even taller and more wacky if you wanted to. Hopefully you guys are starting to see why I called it controlled bush spamming, because it kind of looks like we're bush spamming, but I have grid snap on and I'm actually going for an abstract shapes and it ends up looking pretty good. So yeah. What's nice about this is that it doesn't actually have to stop here. If I just go into the outdoor residential prop gallery and pull, I don't know, this plant out, I can actually just kind of take this plant. If we go ahead and shrink it down, I can just kind of place it anywhere I want. Obviously, I want to make sure the vase is hidden and that it is centered, but when I place them on top, now we have a nice little spurt coming out of that bush right there. If you wanted, of course, you could place them in even more spots. You see I have a couple there. I even have one growing out of the side. Let's see what else we can do with it, actually. Yeah, that looks kind of nice, doesn't it? If I place one on the other side just slightly taller, boom! Look at this beautiful custom creation we have going on here. I can even throw a few of these plants around the sides and such, and at the end of it, we have our own custom plant organized bush spamming creation. Once again, I want to emphasize the fact that this is one design. One custom design out of like hundreds you can do with the organized bush spamming technique. Obviously it might take some practice, but it's actually pretty easy once you get used to it. You can do it pretty quickly and it looks extremely nice when you are done. And of course, if you didn't like my design, you can always use the ones in the hub that is featured right now for a frame of reference, because it is a very similar concept. You can see the creator has one larger bush right here, and then he angled all these bushes at the same angle, placed them on every side, and boom, he had a custom organized bush spamming build. But yeah, you can do things like that, you can do things like I did, or you can go completely out of the box and just build something insane. It's completely and entirely up to you. The last custom design I have for you guys today is a bit more simple and more specific, but I want to talk about it because it's really cool, and that is custom bush trees. Now, what the heck is a custom bush tree? Well, let me show you. For the base of my custom design, I'm going to be using something from the Haunted Hills Nature Gallery. It's the first prop in here. It's kind of this dead looking branch, and it's just because it has some nice branches when you grow it into a more tree-like structure. Obviously, the first trick is getting this thing so that it looks like it's standing up on its own, which we're not quite there yet. That's pretty good. I'm gonna grow this to be larger than it is right now, and yeah, we'll go with that. So there we go. Now I have placed 3 of them, and we have this interesting looking tree right here. Now, if you go to galleries and select nature, you actually have these colored bushes right here, and you have the basic bush over here, and that's what we're gonna be using for the leaves. Now, by default, these bushes are extremely large, so you're definitely gonna wanna shrink them down and make sure that this bottom bit, this textured part right here, is facing upward, or at least to where a player can't see it. So now we just kind of take it and scatter it everywhere, rotating it if we need to, making it look better. Obviously, some of them we can make them larger than others, and you should start to get an effect something like this. Gonna go ahead and take my orange bushes now and maybe spread them across the top a little bit, just something like that. Yeah, this is starting to look nice. Now we'll do the same thing with the yellow bushes, just kind of scatter them around here and there. I'll make this one a lot smaller than the rest of them. Yeah, see what's coming together. And then obviously after some fiddling around and adjusting, you get something that looks kind of like this. Now, if you're asking me, if you have a map where you're going through a forest and it's kind of like a mythical or whimsical dead-ish forest, this is literally the perfect design for that kind of map. I mean, obviously it's more of an autumn theme for a tree, and you know, the trunk does look a little bit dead, but if you're going for custom tree designs, hopefully this inspired you a little so you know what you're doing in the near future. You can obviously, of course, take them and then move them up like so, and maybe make them smaller so you have, you know, some other branches in there, but that's pretty much the whole spiel with the custom bush tree design. Anyway, there you guys have it. That is 3 custom plant designs you guys can use in your maps to help make them more unique and increase that aesthetic value. Remember that these are custom designs and examples, yes, but really this video is meant to inspire your creative mindset and just give you an idea of what you're supposed to be doing so you can go off and create whatever you want and make it as insane as you want. But anyway, I hope this video helped you out, and yeah, this has been Syntax. Later.